Good morning. My name's Gaviewz, and I have decided to take control of my life. For the best part of 9 years now, I have been riding around in a mobility scooter. And in all fairness, I'm 38 years old, and I've had some pretty weird looks over the time. But I needed it, especially in the early days. I needed it, and it's come to my realization now that maybe the improvements I'm making in my life, I don't need it as much as I've gotten used to it. There's been a big part of kind of a limiting belief that I couldn't walk, and this has been instilled into me after my back going on me and my knees buckling, and me being laid in a heap on the floor in the past. And so I kind of resigned myself to not being able to walk. But I've come to Sandal-Beatwood today with the realization of I need to improve my situation. For the last 18 months to 2 years, I've managed to come off 24 tablets and 20 tablets. I'm now on 4 tablets a day, and especially since January, I've spent a lot of time being on purpose, sort of. We live in a very problematic household, and I was only adding to those problems. So when I was on the tablets, and some of you have heard this before, but for those of you who haven't, when I was on those tablets, they were so strong that I was out for the count. I wasn't no use to anybody. I would, be on the settee most of the day, and no use to anybody, and I couldn't father my own children. I couldn't look after my own children. I obviously fathered them, but I couldn't play with my children. I couldn't look after my children. I couldn't be left alone with my children, and I didn't have any life at all. I was miserable, and I think when you're in that situation, certainly, I wish, part of me wishes that I could have had the idea to video that situation. This is, so, can I turn this around? Let's have a look. Well, I've got 2 ways to go, that way or that way. And because I'm talking to a camera, I might as well carry on walking straight, eh? I have to look where I'm going. Yeah, part of me wishes that I'd have had a video recorded then, to show you the worst states, I have always considered myself to be a fraud. I've always cared too much about what other people think, and I've let that ruin my life. It's not a healthy way to think. So I thought, you know what? Stuff everyone. now I'm on a mission of rehabilitation, and you know, I certainly, since coming off the tablets, you know, making more sensible choices. A big part of that was, you know, essential oils and natural supplements, and you know, I've got my life back. And I say that, but that doesn't even become, you know, that doesn't even begin to cover it. You know, I'm walking in a wood. Yes, I may have a walking stick, and you know, I may have come to school on my mobility scooter, parked it up, and I've come to walk. And I wanted to record this because really it's ever so peaceful, you know, it's lovely, all these trees, and you know, it's very peaceful, very quiet, and I certainly don't have to worry about you know, the way I look holding a camera, taking a walk. So the idea of this is that I'm going to kind of do a bit of a video journal. I want to hold myself accountable, and so I'm going to do that by taking a walk every morning and have you guys come along with me. And in that, you know, I'd like to share some of the things I've learned over the years, you know, and some of my opinions, and you know, I'd like to be able to help others, and I feel like doing this and showing that it can be done, I'll be doing that. And you know, I've purposely placed this camera the way I've placed it, so you can perfectly see my second chin, because part of this is making that second chin disappear. So I want to start off by talking about something that, you know, really has stopped me in my tracks, and that is the illusion of perfection. And it's something that we all need to avoid. You know, I've had a vision in my head about recording a video of my rehabilitation, my weight loss. I have for the best part of a year, and I've had what I would say perfect scenario, you know, what would happen. But you know what? I've constantly overthought it, and I feel like it's helpful, or it would be helpful, that in these, doesn't matter what happens, I'm just going to keep the camera rolling, and I'm going to keep the camera rolling and just keep going, because the one thing I want you to all see is the fact that nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. However it turns out is perfect, because however it turns out is how it was supposed to turn out, and if you strive for perfection, you end up doing nothing. And I have been in that situation for far too long. So, you know, my thinking here is that, you know, I'm quite happy to, excuse me, yeah, I think it's good that, so, I'm talking about the whole thing of perfection, and you're going to see the good and the bad, and at the moment, the bad is happening. So, just give myself a minute. So let's talk about this properly then. I have lost 7 years of my life. So 7 years of my life I've lost to medication, to pain, to hopelessness, you know, and the thing is, you know, I went for help, you know. So I worked from the age of 15 full time, and at the age of 15, of course, we all, as a teenager, we all think we know it all, and we know nothing. But we, you know, at least I'm humbled to know that I don't know everything nowadays. But you know, we all think we know everything, and so I was a bit of an attention-seeking loon at 15 years old, and school for me was quite a brutal time, although I just kind of accepted it. And you know, people used to, and people still do, you know, call me Sloth from the Goonies, and you know, I can see why. And I took it, you know, a bit of pinch of salt, a bit of humour, you know. But actually, speaking to a counsellor and actually living that back, there's no wonder I've been on the journey that I've been on. So to give you an overview, so I was born with club feet, so my feet were twisted. I was in pots till I was 5 years old, and I've always struggled to walk because I learned to walk late. And at the age of 13, I was diagnosed with arthritis in my knees, but I carried on going. And by the time 15 came and I left school, which I should never have done, I wish I'd never put my hand up in English class, but I should have gone on to further education. But you know, life is life, we can't have any regrets. And yeah, so I started work at 15, and you know, sure enough, going from getting grief at school, I got grief in the workplace, and so it made me rather shy. Well, I was rather shy, and I would go so far as to say, you know, I was worried about what people thought, and you know, I'd go so far as to say I was anxious. But anxiety wasn't a thing when we were children. It was called worry, and we just had to get on with it. Of course, these days, it's not the case. So, blooming heck. So I don't want to overdo myself. I'll sit down over here and have a rest, and then head back. So I've been walking for 15 minutes, and I can feel it. And yeah, so it's just nice. It's nice and peaceful again. Just, you know, nature. It's lovely. And you know, if you're going to follow this, you're going to have to get used to me rambling and changing, switching from one to another, because you know, it's just how I work. Anyway, so as I'm trying to tell you, so to mask my worry and my shyness, I actually started drinking with the lads from work. And it wasn't, I didn't just drink. I would always, it was never just drinking, more like a competition. It was more like, see how much I could drink and see what state I could get into. And that went on between the ages of 17 to 23, 24, you know, even 25 when I met my now wife Jenny, and I've always had kind of an addictive personality, and I decided at the age of 25 that, you know, I had responsibilities. So I met Jenny and I met Ellie when Ellie was 3 years old, and I decided that I was going to, you know, kind of build a career for myself, because really I drank myself to stupidity, kept down a full-time job, you know, but you know, funded my my alcohol-fueled binges, and you know, I went on, fueled them with credit cards and loans, and you know, they were very generous at, you know, such a young age. They gave me lots of money to go and ruin my life with, and that's exactly what I did. Don't get me wrong, I had a good time. I mean, you know, I've seen some brilliant bands, gone to concerts, gone to sports events, and really just, you know, really gone for it. But some of the, do you know what? Some of those memorable things that I've been and done, you know, I've been to see the Rolling Stones, you know, I've been to see Guns N' Roses, I went to Leeds Festival, which was a highlight of my life, but to be quite honest, looking back, I can't really remember most of it anymore, you know. And so, at the age of 25, I was working at the hospital as a porter, and I absolutely loved the job, you know. And my favourite was working in A&E, 12-hour shifts, because I just met loads of people, and ultimately I am a people person. You know, I used alcohol to build my confidence up and become an attention-seeking loon, and you know, I didn't care, and you know, I was quite careless, and I suppose I do have regrets about that. But hey, that's life, isn't it? That's just part and parcel of it. But when I'd made that decision to improve my life, you know, I got maths and English done, you know, and I'd done all I could to go on the nursing course, because I wanted to be, you know, ultimately, like, deep down, I just want to care for people. Even in my alcohol-fueled days, you know, it's just all I ever wanted to do. I was always buying drinks, you know, I was very generous, and I just wanted to look after everybody else. So, you know, I want to care for people. You know, I feel that that's what I need to do. There's not enough people that care for people. You know, there was a lot, but you always get people highlighting the negatives in life, you know. There's always a lot more negative news stories than there is positive, and, you know, this needs to change in life just to help people out, isn't it? You know, just to change people's perceptions and mindset. Anyway, I did my access to nursing course, and I was getting ready to start the course. Sorry, I did the access to nursing like induction. But then it was all taken away from me because, you know, after running around the hospital for however many years, you know, back and forward, my back actually gave way on me. And this was the start of the worst of it, really, because ultimately, I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, I could be on here for an hour, like, giving you all this information, but ultimately, you know, I ended up laid up on the settee. I was in bed for days and on end, you know, being prescribed tablets or morphine tablets or, you know, whatever else, and, you know, ibuprofens and antibiotics and, you know, all sorts of different stuff. And basically, instead of getting me better, instead of taking the pain away, it just added to things. You know, it was bad enough that I was in pain and I was laid up, but at least I had my own mind. You know, at least I could still, you know, think for myself, barely move, but, you know, I was still human. I was in a lot of pain, so I was prescribed all this medication. And you know what, I think sometimes the side effects did more damage than the actual back pain. It's debatable, but over the long period of time, you know, it made my life worse. And, you know, I ended up in a case where I couldn't do anything. I ended up getting finished from work. Then I really went downhill. And but, you know, because you know, when I was finished from work in 2011, Mia was just born. Mia's now 7. And so I had a, you know, young family, 3 kids. Couldn't look after them, like I say. Couldn't support them now because I was jobless, you know, and I had to claim benefits. Oh, joy of benefits, eh? So then I had to go through another rigmarole. So at this stage, like, you know, I've already got enough issues. Barely walk, can't work, and now I've got to prove that I can't work. Get that one. So that was a complete inconvenience, but then of course I was on benefits and I was on tablets, and years passed by. Depression tablets got added, you know, side effects of my other tablets. Kind of you know, I perforated my stomach, for instance, and my stomach lining, and ended up in hospital spewing blood. Then I had to be given another tablet, lansoprazole, and lansoprazole is worse for you than the reason for keeping it, you know. It's anyway, the point of all that is then you get stuck into a rut. Your mind's not your own. You lose all sight of reality, and every day is a chore. And people, you know, people go through this by the tons. They do. That, you know, there's loads of people out there that have had their life taken away from them because of bad living, bad mindset, difficult circumstances, and I made a decision that I want to make something of my own life, but not for me, for others. I'd like to be able to show people that, you know, it can be done. So like I say, the last 18 months I've managed to replace the majority of my tablets. The tablets that were kicking my ass, the ones that made me not want to get out of bed in the morning, not know what time it is, not be able to look after my own kids, not be able to cook dinner for my family. You know, I've managed to get rid of all them. And this year, you know, I think really from October, I kind of really started making changes. But certainly January, I started looking after myself more and making little changes every day. Nothing too massive, you know. Since October, I've lost just short of 2 stone. I'm still fat, I've still got lots of timber on me, I've still got 2 chins. It's a progress work, but you know what makes all the difference? Mindset. My mind is in the best place it's ever been. I know that I'm going to grow, not wider, but I'm going to grow, I'm going to become more. Not for personal gain. In true typical Gaviewz style, I'm going to do it for everybody else. Because that was the torment. The torment of my life was, once I got on those tablets, once, you know, I couldn't provide for my family, once I couldn't care for my children, you know, that's when the mental torture started. That's when my life was just ended. You know, suicidal thoughts and things like that. That's not something I'm going to talk about today. But you know, that is when I had no quality of life. And I recognise that, you know, I'm not the only person that goes through this. In fact, I'm one of the lucky ones. Because look, as much as this is causing me pain, I'm going to bath myself in essential oils when I get home. You know, I'm walking. I'm here to tell the story because I nearly wasn't. You know, at the worst point, I didn't see myself but anything but a burden. Oh, there's a bird you don't see every day. Oh, look at this, you see. Nature's having a meeting. I don't know whether you can see that. Oh, there's a squirrel on the floor. A couple of different coloured birds. It's nice. Anyway, back to the less nice. You know, I felt like a burden, and you know, for a long time. Oh. Obviously, Mr. Squirrel is camera shy. So, yeah, I'm lucky. Let's restart on a positive note. I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be in this mindset of progress and growth. And this is what I want it all to be about. I am going to grow. I'm going to get, you know, better. I've already sorted out my health. And now I've been left with all this timber on. I'm going to sort that out through good nutrition and exercise. And I want to take you guys on the journey with me to show that it can be done. That through, you know, positive mindset. My daughter hates that word, by the way. I use it all the time. You know, and the thing is, it's not like my problems are the only problems. I said in the beginning of this video, you know, we live in a very complicated household. You know, my wife, hello wife, my wife Jenny. You know, she's such a strong person. You know, and she's very much like me in the fact that she wants to look after everybody else and put us, instead of, you know, looking after herself first. And I often tell her off because you know, she needs to look after herself. She has ataxia, celiac ataxia, and so that's a challenge for her. But she keeps going. You know, 3 loads of washing a day, and, you know, running around after the kids and everything else. And so I suppose, you know, she deserves to watch Jeremy Kyle. I can't believe I've said that on video, but you know, well, we've got 3 wonderful children. Ellie, she's 16, and she had a really bad experience which has left her with severe anxiety. She barely leaves the house. It's a challenge to get her to school, but we work through it, you know. And then my son Callum, he's got a lot of challenges. Eczema, we nearly lost him when he was a child, when he was born, but I'll go into that another day. So he has a lot of challenges as well. And then we thought Mia was going to be perfectly fine, but then kind of this school year she started having, well, she's always had a touch of kind of OCD and sensory issues, and kind of the OCD was like, we used to just laugh it off, you know, just little cute things that she used to like to do, have a cover a certain way and stuff like that. Well, that's intensified with the introduction of anxiety, and so that's being investigated, and so every day's a challenge, eh? Keeps us on his toes. So there's need for me to rehabilitate myself more than ever, just so I can be there for them. And, you know, if I can do that and show you guys that it can be done, to be able to do the same, then it's all good, you know. Anyway, I think I'm going to go, because I'm about to collapse onto my scooter. Look, my scooter's in sight. I'm nearly there. Massive achievement. So, yeah. So, I mean, as I come to the end of this video, just, you know, this is a massive thing for me. This is massive. Like I said to you, I've kind of relived this in my life, in my head, so many times in my life, and, you know, it was going to be this, it was going to be that, and then, you know, fear would stop me, worry would stop me. Your mind can be your biggest, you know, your worst enemy. You know, if you quieten it, and if you do things, you know, like meditation, if you know, it's a really good tool, you know. Meditation. I just used to think that was for people who used to just, you know, hug trees, for a better word. Well, do you know what? Love you, tree. Honestly, meditation is massive. Try it. It's just just opens some space in your mind, allows for all the rubbish to be released and room for much more progressive thinking. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that, that's for another day. I've gone far too long as it is. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.